What is up, everyone? Welcome to episode 4 of the Ohio Sports Radio Show. This is Jared and Ian back again, ready to talk some Ohio sports with you guys. E, how you doing this week, brother?
Living the dream, bro. How are you?
Doing well. Ready to talk some Ohio sports. Let's get into it. For those of you who are new to the show, we usually start each show off with our best and worst of this past weekend. E, go ahead and tell me your best and worst, brother.
Well, as you know, I'm a baseball guy, and there hasn't been a better story so far this season than the shortstop from the Colorado Rockies, Trevor Story. 7 home runs in his first 6 major league games. The Rockies drafted Trevor Story in the first round in 2011. When they did that, a lot of MLB execs were wondering what they were doing with Tulowitzki still on the team. And, you know, with MLB draft, you take the best player available. You don't draft for team needs. And, look where they're at right now. You know, Tulowitzki got sent to the Blue Jays last year in a trade, and Story's picking up right where Tulowitzki left off with his power. So it's nice seeing a good young guy like that come up. It sucks that he has to be in the Colorado organization, but nevertheless, Trevor Story off to a great start this season. My worst of the week, just 1 week removed from the announcement of Brandon Ingram going pro. Duke is going to be losing another freshman, point guard Derek Thornton. Played every game last year. He started 20 games. He averaged 7 points and 3 assists per game. He's saying he wants to play closer to home. My bet is that he'll probably end up transferring to USC out in the SoCal. But Duke just reloads. They got Frank Jackson coming in next year, 5-star recruit at point guard. But I really like Derek Thornton. He reminded me of a young Jay Williams-type player. I thought that's what he could amount to be at Duke. But you know, wish him all the best as he goes out to California to find a school to play at. But that's my best and worst of the week.
All right, my best and worst. I'm going to start with my worst. My worst is just the Reds bullpen in general. Starting on Saturday night, or was it Friday night? Friday night, Friday night, J.J. Hoover coming on for the close, gives up a grand slam. He's terrible. And then last night, Monday night, the Reds in Chicago, Brandon Finnegan has a no-hitter through 7 innings, absolutely cruising. The Reds are dominating. Looks like they're going to spoil opening night at Wrigley Field for the Cubs, and the bullpen happens. Bryan Price let Finnegan go out for the 7th inning because he had his no-hitter working, and which was the right call. We'll get to that later. But Bryan Price did not have anybody up in the bullpen. They brought in Cingrani. He got rocked. Jumbo Diaz came in and got rocked, and they ended up losing the game. Brandon Finnegan's great work was for naught, and the Reds blow up for the first time this year. So that bullpen was terrible, kind of brought us back down to the reality after the great start to the season. Hopefully it can get better. My best of the weekend, I actually have 2 things. FC Cincinnati, the new pro soccer team, the USL team out of Cincinnati, won their home opener at Nippert Stadium against the Charlotte Independents 2-1. The atmosphere was awesome, electric. Well done to all FC Cincinnati fans. It was fantastic. Glad to see soccer in Cincinnati. It's great. Hopefully they can make it. Hopefully we can get an MLS team out of that. So yeah, FC Cincinnati winning their home opener was fantastic. And also, as you guys know, I'm a Manchester City fan. Today, on Tuesday, Manchester City, my Blues, advanced to the semifinals of the Champions League by beating Paris Saint-Germain 1-0, 3-2 on aggregate, advancing to the semifinals for the first time ever. I'm excited. I can't wait. I love it. So 2 soccer things and my best of. And speaking of best of, I want to give a quick shout out. For those of you who are watching the YouTube show right now, you'll notice I'm wearing a shirt. It's Where I'm From. This shirt is Ohio. Where I'm From is an Ohio-based company. This shirt is awesome. Company's awesome. I want to give a shout out to Andrew and everyone at Where I'm From for hooking us up with some awesome Ohio apparel. Like I said, if you're not familiar with Where I'm From, you definitely have to check them out. They provide a fashionable way for people to show their allegiance while wearing exceptionally comfortable clothing. Their apparel is perfect for any occasion, from going out to chilling out and everything in between. Honestly, this shirt I'm wearing right now is one of the most comfortable shirts I've ever put on. These guys are awesome. If you're not familiar with them, head to their website at www.whereimfrom.com and check out their line of Ohio brand clothing today. Let them know that the guys at Ohio Sports Radio sent you. They're awesome. Check out their stuff. They got all kinds of teams: Reds, Bengals, Browns, Cavs, you name it. They're awesome. Check them out, whereimfrom.com. So let's move on we do a segment called Top 5 for those of you who may be new to the show. Top 5, it usually coincides with something going on in, modern media and pop culture, something like that. So one thing I noticed they've been playing a lot of on TVE, I don't know if you've seen this, they have a new movie coming out. It's about Pelé, the Brazilian soccer star's life. Have you seen this?
I've seen a few of the clips on online, yeah.
So the movie looks fantastic. They keep playing the trailer. They just dropped a new trailer. So that led us to our top 5 favorite sports movies of all time in honor of the new Pelé movie coming out. This movie looks incredible, by the way. So maybe in a couple of years, this may be on my top 5 because as you know, I'm a soccer guy and it looks amazing. But let's get into it. Let's talk about our top 5 favorite sports movies of all time. Let's start with number 5.
Rome's when a defining moment comes along, you can do one of two things. Define the moment or let the moment define you. Number 5 for me is Tin Cup. Kevin Costner's role of Roy McAvoy, the driving range pro, great golf movie. Just one of my all-time favorite movies. But number 5 is Tin Cup for me.
The scene where he just keeps asking for a ball and he's trying to get it over the pond, that is like me golfing in everyday life. Every time I go out and golf, I go through a whole bag of golf balls. So I really relate to Tin Cup, and that's one of my dad's favorite movies. I love that one. Number 5 for me is The Sandlot, a classic childhood movie. Just it reaches everyone who grew up playing baseball. You getting together with your friends in the backyard and getting a game together. The Sandlot, fantastic movie, comes in at number 5 for me. So let's move to number 4 of our number 4 on our top 5 favorite sports movies list.
Number 4 for me is a part of a classic movie franchise. Most people will tell you that no movie will ever surpass the first one, but for me, this movie surpasses the first one. It actually ended the Cold War. Number 4 for me is Rocky IV, Rocky versus the Angry Russian, Ivan Drago. Great movie. Favorite scene is when he comes home after Apollo's died and him and Adrian are arguing, and he's down at the foot of the stairs and he gets into the Porsche and drives away. Just one of my all-time favorite scenes as he drives away through the tunnel, and then the insane training regimen out in Russia. He grows the beard. He just starts becoming a freak of nature, and just fantastic Rocky movie. So Rocky IV comes in at number 4 for me.
Oh, fantastic movie. That's the best of the series, without a doubt, in my opinion. Number 4 on my list is Remember the Titans. Fantastic movie based on a true story. It combines football, it combines brotherhood, everything great about football and the sport of football. The movie's fantastic. Denzel Washington's amazing in it. So number 4 for me is Remember the Titans. Number 3, what's number 3 on your list of top 5 favorite sports movies of all time?
Number 3 for me, I'm bringing a football movie as well. It came out right before my senior year of high school. It was Friday Night Lights. While I didn't play football, that movie, it was just one of those movies that you could relate to. Every Friday night was about spending time with your friends in the stands, watching the games, supporting where you came from, your high school, everything about that. So Friday Night Lights comes in at number 3 for me.
Great movie. For me, number 3 is Rookie of the Year, Henry Rowan-Gardner, the kid who breaks his arm and can now pitch after breaking his arm. Result of that, he can pitch 100-mile-per-hour fastballs like Aroldis Chapman. Great movie. By the way, if you're a Cubs fan and you don't have a custom Henry Rowan-Gardner jersey, you're doing fandom wrong because you're missing a huge opportunity there. So number 3 for me on my list of top 5 favorite sports movies of all time, Rookie of the Year. Let's move on to number 2. What's your number 2 favorite movie or favorite sports movie on your list of top 5?
Number 2 for me is one of Lou Brown's greatest managerial performances. He's got the flamethrower Ricky Vaughn. He's got the base path bandit and Willie Mays Hayes, the long ball threat Pedro Serrano, and the veteran catcher and leader Jake Taylor. Number 2 for me is Major League. Love that movie. I'm a big baseball guy, so anything to do with baseball I'm all in for, but the first Major League's number 2 for me.
Very good movie. Very good movie. Number 2 on my list is Hoosiers. Hoosiers is a fantastic movie. One of my favorite movies of all time. Gene Hackman is amazing in that movie. He's absolutely fantastic. Jimmy Chitwood, everything about that movie. One of my favorite parts of the movie is when one of the guys fouls out and a guy that was in trouble with the coach tries to go into the game. He said, I got my squad on the court, and he plays with 4 guys instead of 5. Hoosiers is a fantastic movie. It's my number 2 on my list of top 5 favorites. And finally, let's go to number 1, our top favorite sports movie of all time. E, what's number 1?
I'm sticking with baseball. The Natural, Roy Hobbs. This movie just, wow. He's a young up and comer, and he's a pitcher, and he's lighting everybody on fire. Just mowing down people left and right, getting his chance for the big leagues, and then he ends up getting shot. And several years pass, and he comes back up with the with a New York team, and no one wants to give him a chance because he's old, and he finally gets a chance to show what he's worth, and he's the best baseball player in the game. And the lightning bolt that strikes the tree when he's a kid, and he builds the baseball bat, Wonder Boy, is just forever etched in my mind as the greatest sports movie of all time. But number 1 for me, sticking with baseball, I'm going with The Natural.
Absolutely great movie. Number 1 for me, I got to go hockey, and I'm going to go D2 Mighty Ducks. Now, the Mighty Ducks franchise, all 3 of them are fantastic in my opinion. I'm a huge hockey guy. D2 is fantastic. Team USA, it brings everyone together. You get all the kids around the country. Joey the Cat Gaffney, Goldberg. You get Charlie Conway, Luis Mendoza from Miami, tons of other names. I love the Mighty Ducks series. I love hockey. So D2 Mighty Ducks comes in as my favorite sports movie on our list of top 5. So that's it. Thank you, E. Let's move on. Let's talk a little Reds baseball. Since the last time we talked to you guys, episode 3, the Reds got off to a hot start. They started their season off against the Phillies. They swept the Phillies in the first 3 games. They looked fantastic. They had a lot of late game magic, but they looked great. They moved on to the Pirates. Were able to take 2 of 3 from the Pirates. They should have took all 3, like I mentioned earlier. J.J. Hoover came in and gave up a grand slam. If it weren't for that pitch, in my opinion, the Reds go into the Cubs series undefeated. Speaking of the Cubs series, last night on Monday, the Reds had opening night in Chicago. Should have won that game. They blew up on themselves. So right now on Tuesday, they're sitting at 5-2 on an off day. Game 2 of the Cubs series is tomorrow night on Wednesday. Reds, they look pretty good, man. I mean, we figured that they could probably – I don't know if we figured they could sweep the Phillies, but I definitely know that we were in the corner of they could win their opening game. What do you think about them so far, man?
Right now, I like what I see. I definitely think there's a good, bad, and ugly with this team right now. The good is definitely led by Suarez. He is just seeing the ball better than anyone on that team. He's knocking the cover off of it. He's hitting home runs. He's getting timely hits. He's moving runners over. Brandon Phillips has had another nice start to his season, defensively and offensively. Jay Bruce, he's having a great kickoff to his year as well. And that duo out in left field, Adam Duvall and Scott Schebler, they're producing.
Duvall looks really good. Schebler looks really good as well, but Duvall looks great. He looks really good.
Well, and he gunned down that runner in the Pittsburgh series in Sunday's matchup. And, he's got an arm out there, and he's finally getting to show it off. And, I think that platoon situation out in left field is going to be real nice and work real well for this team for the duration of the season. The bad right now, it's Joey Votto, but there's nothing to that. He'll figure it out. And then the ugly, like you mentioned earlier, it's the bullpen situation. They've got no reliable guy down there in that bullpen. And, that's just that's where this team's at right now. There's holes on this team, and they're all in the bullpen.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Suarez, it looks amazing right now, dude. He looks really good. He's hitting the hell out of the ball. So it's good to see him. He's going to be a future piece for the Reds. And like I wrote about, he's making the Reds fans forget about Todd Frazier one home run at a time. He looks really good. We have a couple Reds questions, actually. So let's get into these a little bit. Ken Rice wants to know. Ken is he's a friend of the show, so Ken, we appreciate it. Ken wants to know, should Bryan Price be fired? Ken thinks he's been terrible handling this pitching staff. Ian, I know this is a hot topic for you right now. So what do you think? Should Bryan Price be fired?
I'm currently working on a piece to put up on our website about why I think the Reds should extend Bryan Price. Extend his contract into next season right now. But it's definitely a head scratcher because Bryan Price was a great pitching coach. And you're wondering how can someone that has a pitching background and that was a former major league pitcher be so shaky and, awful when it comes to managing a pitching staff. Yeah, he's definitely mismanaged the bullpen. Like you mentioned last night in Chicago, definitely you send Finnegan back out there, but you make it known to Finnegan like, hey, this is a close game. If you get in trouble, we're going to have somebody ready. And I think –
But that's the thing. He didn't have anyone ready. He had no one up and going in the bullpen. So, you said, that's a right call to send Finnegan out. If a guy's got a no-no going, you let them go out there. You let him chase destiny. So, but like you said, if you walk someone, if he gets a hit, it all unravels for a guy after that. So you got to have somebody up in the bullpen, which he did not.
No, I completely agree. And he mismanaged that part of the game because he should have had somebody in the bullpen. And all he had to do was explain it to Finnegan, like, look, this is your game. The slightest sign that you're running into trouble, we're going to bring somebody in for you. We're going to help you get this win. We're going to be there for you. But he didn't do that. He let Finnegan go out there, didn't call anybody up into the bullpen until 2 men were on. And then, it just unraveled there. Now, the reason that I'm kind of taking up for Price here is, I said it to you last night. This guy is tough to win. He's a tough sell for the fan base. I get it. He's mismanaging the game when it comes to the bullpen in the late innings, but he's starting to get the Dusty Baker treatment from fans, and he's starting to get this Dusty Baker treatment with a team that's about 20 times worse than any team that Dusty Baker had. I mean, this is all about rebuilding. Nobody wants to coach the Reds right now. Nobody wants to manage this team that's a big name out there. I see fans say, well, why don't we go after so-and-so? Why don't we go after so-and-so? You can throw anything you want, but Cincinnati is not a destination spot where you want to manage at. And until people begin to realize that, they're going to constantly say, fire Bryan Price, fire Bryan Price. Well, who are you going to promote? Because Jim Riggleman's next in line. Barry Larkin's not going to take over this team. And I've even said that, I'd like to see Barry Larkin eventually manage this team. Larkin is not going to step into a managerial position with this team until this team's ready to win, because this team is not going to win for, the duration of Larkin's career as a manager. Larkin needs this as a stepping stone to go somewhere else. So Larkin's not going to step right in on the team that's rebuilding and whatnot. But, you got to give it time. We're 7 games in. He's 5-2 this season with a team that's rebuilding. So pump the brakes. We're not going to fire Bryan Price.
Well, I'm gonna give you 2 sides to the coin with Bryan Price. Like you said, one, who does he have? This team has no one. I think it's more on Walt Jocketty than it is on Bryan Price. Walt Jocketty's backed this team into a corner. They owe Joey Votto all kinds of money. They owe Brandon Phillips all kinds of money. They don't have the money to re-sign anyone. They let Chapman go. They had to let Frazier go. They're letting these star players go. Bruce will probably be gone before the trade deadline. So Walt Jocketty's backed this team into a corner. And who does Price have? He has nobody. That bullpen is terrible. It's terrible. Statistically, top to bottom, on paper, that bullpen is awful. But on the other side, what drives me nuts about Bryan Price is he will not hesitate to bring in J.J. Hoover in the 8th inning. He needs 1 out in the 8th, and then he'll move J.J. to the 9th. He will call on J.J. Hoover to get 4 outs anytime. He would never do that for Aroldis Chapman. Never. That drove me up the wall. Are you telling me he's the best closer of our era, and you tell me he can't go out there and get you an extra out? That's absurd. It drove Reds fans nuts. It drove me nuts. I know it drove you nutsy. That's just crazy. That's terrible managing of the bullpen. Why wouldn't you send Chapman out there? I don't understand that. J.J. Hoover has proved time and time again that he does not have what it takes to be a closer in Cincinnati or anywhere for that matter. So to say Bryan Price needs to be fired right now, no. But I disagree. I don't think they should re-sign him right now. I think they got to let the season play out a little bit and see how it goes. I mean, if he has this team at the All-Star break, they don't even have to have a winning record. But if he has them like playing well, competing, maybe. But like you said, Barry Larkin's not going to take this job because Larkin's going to want to come in to take it. He's not going to – you don't captain a sinking ship. You just don't do that, especially when you're a guy who's trying to make a name for yourself as a new coach. So I don't know if they should fire Bryan Price, Ken, but that's a great question. We'll watch as the season unfolds. So thank you for that, Ken. We do appreciate it. We have one final Reds question from Dean Lanier. Dean wants to know, what do you guys think about the Reds' hot start? He's very excited about it. I think we're excited as well, Dean. Hopefully they can keep winning, man. Like I've wrote about, I think this team, we predicted that they're going to lose probably 100 games this year, and hopefully not. Hopefully they can be competitive. But, I love it. As long as the Reds are winning, and if they can beat the Cubs and Cardinals, then I'm happy. That's all I care about. But thank you guys for those questions. We appreciate it. Let's move on. Let's stay in Cincinnati. Let's talk a little football. Let's talk about my Bengals, Z. What do you say? Does that sound fun? So a couple things happened with the Bengals that since the last time we talked to you guys. Big news coming out of the Bengals camp is they gave head coach Marvin Lewis a 1-year contract extension that will keep him with the Bengals until 2017. Now, we got chirped pretty hard when we posted this on Facebook. I know there was some sarcastic posts. People are like, some people were happy. I'm happy. Some people were not happy at all. So for those of you who aren't diehard Bengals fans, Marvin Lewis as a head coach for the Bengals is 112, 92, and 2. That's a 54% winning percentage, and the big asterisk next to his name, he's 0-7 in the postseason, which is terrible. Outsider looking in, what do you think about the Bengals giving Marvin Lewis a 1-year extension?
I'm torn between this because I see both sides of the argument. Marvin Lewis is not just a head coach. He's been working behind the scenes. He's been working a lot with Duke Tobe, and he's done pretty much everything with the draft. Marvin Lewis has built what the Bengals are today. What I think this is 15 years. This will be his 15th season, or it's going to be his 16th season with the Bengals. 20 games over 500. You just read it. When's the last time a coach has had that kind of tenure with the Bengals and done that well? I don't think it's happened. So you've got to look at it. You've got to look. Do you want to keep a guy that has consistently put a winner and a competitor out on the field week in and week out? Or do you want to get rid of a guy who's done that because he can't win the big one? He can't win a playoff game and get over the hump. I'm torn with it. I mean, I know Bengals fans are upset because they haven't won a playoff game yet in his tenure there at Cincinnati. But at the same time, how many times have we said it? I don't know where the sense of entitlement came to the city of Cincinnati. And that's not a knock against Bengals fans. It's a knock against Cincinnati fans because Reds fans are like that too. I know it's frustrating year in, year out, especially this season's playoff game. I can't imagine ever feeling like that, just being on top of the world and then just being buried 6 feet under like that.
And literally like 1 minute's time, 1 minute of game time, it was the highest of emotions to the absolute lowest of low emotions. It's terrible.
No, yeah, I don't bet against that. So I mean, I'm still in the camp where you keep Marvin because, even though I'm not a Bengals fan, I'm a Browns fan. I think Marvin's done a good job for you guys, and I don't think you would have gotten that out of anybody else. I'm a fan of Marvin Lewis. I believe in Marvin Lewis, and, it's just unfortunate, the things that have happened. It's, people say the curse of Bo Jackson, it might be, it's just been unfortunate, but curses are meant to be broken, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple reasons why I like this signing. One, Marvin has, like I've said, if you go back to the beginning of this show, I've said over and over, I'm a Marvin Lewis guy. He's done a fantastic job digging the Bengals out of the toilet that they were in. However, I did say that I believe he's taken the Bengals team as far as he can take them, and I do believe that. I think they have to They have to switch, but Marvin's not going anywhere. He will be in the front office with the Bengals sooner or later. Him and Duke Tobin will do a fantastic job in the front office. But I love the Bengals giving him an extension because of this. It takes the hot seat question out of the picture for the Bengals. So next year, when the Bengals are playing, there's not this looming thing over Marvin's head or the team's head like, hey, there's rumors that the Bengals aren't happy with Marvin Lewis. Now, those rumors came out, if you remember, before they announced that they gave him an extension. I didn't read into that at all. I even told you, I said, this is non-news to me. This happens every year, and the Bengals usually re-sign Marvin. So I think it was a fantastic job. It keeps the hot seat questions out. If let's do this scenario. If they don't re-sign him or give him an extension, and you know that his contract's up after this season, it starts to play into questions like, well, there's John Gruden out there, there's Bill Cowher. Those two guys are never going to coach the Bengals. It's never going to happen, guys. So stop. Cowher will never coach the Bengals. And John Gruden gets paid $40 million a year to announce football 1 day a week. So it will not happen. Marvin's done a fantastic job. This is not like college football. You don't just pick up a coach and go. NFL has a system in place. It would set the Bengals back if they got a new head coach. It would. It would set Andy Dalton's progression back and everyone else. I love the signing. If they didn't do that, it would completely undermine Marvin Lewis, and players would start looking ahead to next year like, oh, who's going to be our new coach? I got to impress this guy instead of Marvin. He's gone. So I like the re-signing just for that matter. Hopefully Marvin can get the Bengals over the hump. I believe. I'm a diehard, so I believe. But yeah, that was the big news with the Bengals. And also they also released their preseason schedule. They play Minnesota at home, at Detroit, at Jacksonville on Sunday Night Football, and at home against Indianapolis for what feels like the 15th year in a row they're playing the Colts in preseason. But yeah, that's really all that's going on with the Bengals. Let's move north to Columbus a little bit. Not much going on with the Buckeyes. There is the Buckeyes have 5 prospects attending the 2016 NFL Draft, which is their record. I think that they're actually tying, but that's huge. Also, a bit of sad news that we have to report. For those of you who may not have heard, former Ohio State Buckeyes defensive end and New Orleans Saint defensive end Will Smith was shot and killed last Saturday on his way home from dinner. Absolutely sad news. So Will Smith and his family were sending out thoughts and prayers out to his family. It's terrible, terrible news. So hate to hear that about a former Buckeye. But let's move up north to your Cleveland Browns. The Browns, man, they make our job easy. They give us tons to talk about week in and week out. It doesn't matter what's going on. So yesterday a bombshell dropped. Suspended Browns wide receiver Josh Gordon reportedly failed yet another drug test. Gordon tested positive for marijuana, and apparently the sample he turned into the NFL was diluted. Also, it came out that he's apparently living with Johnny Manziel because why not? When you're trying to get reinstated in the NFL, why not live with a guy who is an absolute cancer? Crazy. Josh Gordon's a beast. He had 161 receptions for 2,754 yards with the Browns and 14 touchdowns. So Browns definitely could have used him last year, but he can't get his act together. And then again today, more news dropping with the Browns. NFL.com's Lance Zierlein reported that the Cleveland Browns are willing to trade their number 2 pick. He says the Browns are not enamored with a single player who would be available with their top selection and will be willing to part with it in order to collect more draft picks. I ask you every week, what is going on with your Cleveland Browns, man?
First, Josh Gordon. Fuck you. You just consistently screw up. I want the Browns to release this guy. He's never going to get reinstated. The NFL is stringing him along, which they can do whatever they want with him. That's perfectly fine by me. They're letting this guy think that, okay, you'll just have to wait another 90 days to reinstate, blah, 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 since you failed another drug test. This guy has failed more drug tests than I've taken tests in my entire life, and I've spent half my life in college. So this guy is a complete waste of God-given talent. Like you said, he was an absolute beast when he played for the Browns. He was probably, if he kept his nose clean, he was going to come back in more than likely, be reinstated, be our number 1 receiver. That'd be great, especially for a team that had been rumored by several to take a young quarterback. And he'd be a great target for any of the quarterbacks that they were going to have on the depth chart playing anyway. Just a guy that still has his youth, shit ton of God-given talent, and he just pisses it all away. It's unnerving, man. Just him and Manziel, they're both just waste. They're a dumpster fire, and they make the whole city of Cleveland look like a dumpster fire.
Those two do not give a fuck about anything, dude, at all. They don't care about anything. It's amazing. As an outsider looking in at the Browns, I love it. I love what is going on up there. I can't stand Manziel. You know that. But Manziel doesn't give a fuck, dude. He just keeps coming out of strip clubs at night. He's drunk. He's carrying bottles. He's on TMZ every other day. The guy doesn't care. He does not care. For someone who says he's trying to turn his life around, he doesn't care. Josh Gordon is an idiot. But I don't think the Browns should cut him because there's no sense in cutting a suspended player. But the funniest thing ever that Josh Gordon could have done, today he applied for reinstatement. After the news dropped that he failed another drug test, he applied for reinstatement in the NFL. I wish I was the guy at the NFL office who received that and read it for the first time. Like, are you serious? Did you really just apply for reinstatement? That's the funniest thing I've ever heard. Josh Gordon's an idiot, great talent, but he's going to be a what could have been guy, exactly like Johnny Manziel. I think the Browns did a fantastic job getting rid of Manziel and getting him out of that locker room. But if they want their guy, their star receiver, who they're trying to get back into the league, to clean up his act, I think number one would be, hey, don't fucking live with Johnny Manziel, who's an idiot. That's my 2 cents.
Speaking of Johnny Manziel, I know he's no longer with the team, but did you see the latest TMZ video?
Yeah, insane.
He's talking to the dude, takes the camera, does like a selfie with the camera, a video camera, mind you, talking to this guy. He's like, man, I'm just out here just having a good time. I'm living with my boy Von Miller, go Aggies, gig 'em, go Aggies. I'm living with my boy Von Miller, Super Bowl MVP. And you know what, man? There ain't no drama. I'm out here. How many times have you seen me this week? Like 5 nights in a row? Okay, yeah, we've seen you 5 nights in a row at the same bar. I'm not out here causing problems. I'm not out here drunk. That dude was shit-faced, hammered. And then the owner of the bar comes out to, like, bring him into the bar, and he's like, this is my dude. He's taking care of me. The guy could not put a coherent sentence together, sloshing all his words around, just ridiculous.
He's a drunk. He's an alcoholic. He needs help. Nobody's helping the guy, man. Von Miller, if I'm John Elway and my star player who wants an extension that I want to keep and be our franchise player is hanging out with Johnny Manziel, I pull him in my office and say, shut the door. What in the fuck are you doing? Don't associate yourself with him. He is an idiot. He's a cancer. Do you see what he's done to the Cleveland Browns? He's made you guys more of a laughingstock than you already are. No offense, Browns fans. You know I love you. But Johnny Manziel is an idiot. Josh Gordon's an idiot. The Browns, Hugh Jackson will clean it up. He's a man. But don't expect anything soon from the Browns. Gordon's a suspended player. So until they lift that suspension, then we'll see what the Browns do. But absolutely ridiculous. I cannot believe when that news broke, I could not believe that. But let's get into trading the number 2 pick, E. We've talked about that. You said that's what you wanted all along. I actually like it. If they think that RG3 is their guy for this season, maybe 2 seasons, I actually like it. You guys, like I've said for the past 5 shows, I've said you guys have so many needs, you almost have no needs. You could take anybody, any position, it would be a good pick,
No, you're exactly right. And, Pep Hamilton and, Hugh Jackson, they spent a lot of time traveling to see Carson Wentz and Jared Goff at their pro days. And, there's been a lot of talk around taking one of these 2 quarterbacks to the number 2 overall pick. And then that news breaking from Zerline tonight, I don't know what to think. Some people are saying it might be a ploy because the Titans came out and said they could possibly, trade that first pick. I don't think the Titans are doing that whatsoever, but I think the Browns are trying to get in there, seeing if anybody will make an insane deal. A long, long time ago on the show, I said, trade down, stockpile the picks because we're a team that has several holes. And like you mentioned, it's almost like we have no needs at all. Any pick would be a good one. One of the teams I mentioned is the Philadelphia Eagles, and that's who they're being linked to with this news piece. The Eagles own the 8 pick, saying they might flip flop first round picks. I'm hoping the Browns will probably get one of their third round picks too. Excuse me. Hopefully get one of their third round picks as well. Maybe the Browns sweeten the deal by throwing a later round pick on there. But if they move down to 8. I think the logical pick there is probably Laquan Treadwell. You just lost your number one wide receiver, your number one target, who you were banking on to come back from reinstatement and from suspension. I think if they make that deal, they got to take Treadwell there at 8. I don't think there's any other question.
Treadwell's slipping. He's slipping bad. I've read a lot of mock drafts where they believe he may be there at number 24 for the Bengals. So he's slipping. He's had a terrible 40 time. I mean, slow 40. So I don't know, man. There's a ton of good players there that the Browns could take. I think you guys should bulk up that offensive line personally. But who knows? You could build the trenches in later rounds, man. I don't know. You guys have a ton of needs. Crazy what's going on in Cleveland. And there's another piece of news with the Browns as well. They also released their preseason schedule. The Browns will play at Green Bay for their first game, at home against Atlanta, at Tampa Bay, and at home against Chicago. So not too bad. Preseason football is boring, but whenever it's back, and we're all happy. And that just means that we're one step closer to the regular season. But yeah, Browns crazy right now, man. We'll follow those stories as they unfold. But there's always something. There's always something every week with the Browns, so you never know. But let's stay in Cleveland. Let's talk a little Cavs basketball. The Cleveland Cavaliers locked up the 1 seed in the East. Surprise, surprise. They finished with, well, actually they got one more game left, but right now they're 57-24. Looks like they could either play the Pistons or the Pacers, depending on who flip-flops in those series. We've said it over and over. Do the Cavs have what it takes to beat the Warriors or the Spursy?
No chance. You said it week in and week out, Jared. They don't play team ball, and that's where this team's going to fall short. I think they're good enough to win the East. You and I have both said it. I think the only team in the East that can give them trouble is Boston if they end up facing them. But other than that, it should be a cakewalk in the East for them. It's going to be real entertaining what happens in the West. Whoever comes out of the West, I think is ultimately the NBA champion, whether it be San Antonio, whether it be Golden State. They don't match up on paper. They don't match up on the court. They're trying to make adjustments. I know Tyronn Lue came out and said that Tristan Thompson's going to be the starting center for the rest of the season. Yeah, that's a move in the right direction when you're going to have to more than likely play the Warriors in the championship. But when your team doesn't gel together and you're taking on probably one of the top 2 teams when it comes to playing team ball in the league, it spells disaster. So no, I don't think they stand any chance. This is just, you're prolonging it. They're going to win the East, but they stand no chance when it gets to the finals.
Yep, completely agree. Say it week in and week out. We'll see. The West is the monster. It's a gauntlet, man. So we'll see if those guys beat each other down. I don't know. The Cavs, if LeBron puts the team on his back, maybe, but we'll see. I don't know. But yeah, that's our show. Not much else to talk about right now. Tons of stuff going on. We got the NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs start tomorrow on Wednesday. So tons going on. Unfortunately, the Blue Jackets aren't in there. They finished with the worst record in the NHL. They suck, but NHL playoffs nonetheless. Tons of great sports going on. As always, we finish our show with a bold prediction, but I have one final question, E, that I thought I'd get to before we did our bold prediction. And this question comes from Mr. Ricky Barker, and it's a fantastic question. He wants to know, you got 3, Johnny Manziel, Greg Hardy, and Josh Gordon. You have to keep one. Who you taking?
I'm quitting my job, and I'm becoming homeless. I'm not keeping any of them.
I'm going to keep Josh Gordon because he parties hard and, whatever. We'll keep Josh Gordon and maybe we can go outside. We can smoke a bowl and go outside and toss a couple footballs around and talk about what might have been. Because I played Pee Wee football and he played NFL football, and we're about the same because neither of us is playing in the NFL right now.
I'd just like to make mention to all of our listeners that we don't condone drug use here at Ohio Sports Radio. So If Jared goes out and smokes a bowl, that's not on us whatsoever. That's his choice.
Well, I'm just saying I'm not going to do that. But if I'm with Josh Gordon, I got a feeling I'm going to be forced to do that. I have no choice. He's just going to force that upon me. So that's what it looks like with Josh Gordon at least. But I'm keeping Josh Gordon in that one. Ricky, thank you for the question, sir. Let's end the show with our bold prediction. Like always, let's hear your bold prediction, sir. What are you thinking?
Reds are back in action tomorrow night against the Cubs to finish out a 3-game set. They'll play tomorrow and Thursday, and then they head off to St. Louis for a Friday, Saturday, Sunday affair with the Cardinals. My bold prediction is that when the Reds are back in town by next week's show against the Rockies, they will have completed a successful road trip with a winning record.
That's a pretty good prediction. I'm going to piggyback on that one. My bold prediction is a little bit more right now. The Reds have 2 more games against the Cubs. I'm going to guess that they win both of those games and they walk out with the series win against the Cubbies. So that would be huge for our Redlegs. But that's the show, episode 4 of the Ohio Sports Radio Show podcast. Thank you guys so much. We can't thank you guys enough. If you could do us a favor, go to iTunes, subscribe to this podcast, download the episodes, and leave a review if you don't mind. We will maybe start reading some of the reviews that you guys drop on here on the show. We would really appreciate it. It would help our podcast and us out a lot. We are on Stitcher. We're on podcast. We will be on Google Play Music. But we are on the iTunes podcast list right now, and the show's doing very well. So thank you to everyone who has downloaded and subscribed already. And we need more. So if you guys can talk to your friends and family, anyone who you think would be interested, tell them to subscribe, tell them to download the episode, and leave us a review. You guys are awesome. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Ohio Sports Radio. Like us on Facebook, Ohio Sports Radio. You guys are the best. Check out our website, ohsportsradio.com. Do you have anything to add, brother?
Suck it, Cubs.
Absolutely. Suck it, Cubs, and suck it, St. Louis. That's episode 4 of the Ohio Sports Radio Show. We will see you guys on the other side for episode 5.